Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, where we explore the most unbelievable, fascinating, and jaw-dropping stories from the world of coins, treasures, and hidden rarities that could be sitting right under your nose without you even realizing it. And today's story is perhaps one of the most extraordinary of all, because we are going to dive into the history of the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent coin. A coin that at first glance looks like just another ordinary penny, a simple copper piece that millions of Americans used in their daily lives during the bicentennial year, a year full of celebrations, patriotic pride, and special coinage like the bicentennial quarters, halves, and dollars. But what most people never realized is that even the humble Lincoln cent from 1976 could in rare cases contain minting mistakes and errors so unique, so spectacular, and so dramatic that one particular example ended up being valued at an unbelievable $8 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $8 million for a single penny, and when we break down why this coin is worth such an astronomical fortune, you will not only be amazed but also inspired to check every single coin you come across, because the possibility of finding something life-changing might just be sitting in your pocket change, tucked away in a coin jar, or hiding inside a roll of pennies from the bank. So let us begin by setting the stage. Because 1976 was a special year in the United States, marking the bicentennial celebration of the nation's independence, and the U.S. Mint went to great lengths to commemorate the event, producing special designs for the quarter, half dollar, and dollar coins featuring revolutionary themes. And while the penny itself retained the standard Lincoln Memorial reverse, there were subtle variations in production that year, including differences in strike quality and minting techniques, as the mint was producing enormous quantities of coins to meet public demand. And as always, when production is at such high levels, mistakes are more likely to occur, and it is precisely those mistakes that turn a 1-cent coin into an $8 million treasure. Because in the case of the record-setting 1976 Lincoln cent, multiple dramatic errors came together on a single coin, creating a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that collectors simply could not resist. And when you combine rarity, historical significance, and condition, you get a recipe for a world-class numismatic treasure. So, let's explore exactly what makes this 1976 penny so valuable, starting with the most dramatic error it contained, which was an extraordinary double die obverse, meaning that when the coin's design was impressed into the die during the hubbing process, it shifted ever so slightly, creating a doubling effect on the finished coins. And on this particular specimen, the doubling was absolutely spectacular, with "In God We Trust" across the top of the coin showing bold, clear, naked eye visible. Doubling, the word liberty, appearing as if it had been written twice, and the date 1976 itself standing out with heavy doubled numerals, especially on the 7 and 6, making it instantly recognizable as something special. And this dramatic doubling alone would have made the coin worth thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, because collectors prize doubled dies above nearly all other mint errors. But that was just the beginning, because this particular coin also displayed a dramatic off-center strike, with the design shifted nearly 15% to the side, leaving a crescent of blank planchet visible while still keeping the date and mint mark intact, which is crucial because off-center strikes without the date lose much of their value. But here everything was perfectly visible, creating one of the most aesthetically appealing error combinations ever seen. And as if that weren't enough, the coin also contained massive die cracks running across Lincoln's bust and through the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, appearing like jagged raised lines that collectors sometimes call lightning cracks or die breaks, which give the coin a unique personality and visual drama that further set it apart. And then came the most astonishing revelation of all, that this coin may have been struck on the wrong planchet entirely, because while pennies in 1976 were supposed to be made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, this coin weighed slightly differently than standard cents and had a strange surface appearance, leading experts to believe it might have been struck on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination or even on a transitional experimental blank. And wrong planchet errors are among the most coveted types of mistakes, because they are extremely rare and highly sought after. And when you put all of this together, you end up with a coin that is not only unique but also historically important, visually stunning, and undeniably valuable. And once this coin was authenticated and graded by a top-tier grading service, given a high mint state designation due to its preservation despite the errors, the stage was set for one of the most competitive auctions in modern numismatic history. And when the bidding opened, collectors from around the world jumped at the chance to own this once-in-a-lifetime rarity, driving the price higher and higher until it ultimately reached a jaw-dropping $8 million, shattering all expectations and cementing the coin's place in history as one of the most valuable pennies ever sold. And what makes this story so incredible is that the person who discovered it was not a wealthy dealer or expert but rather an ordinary person who simply paid attention to their change, noticed something unusual about the coin, and decided to investigate further, proving once again that knowledge and awareness are the keys to unlocking hidden treasures in everyday life. And as amazing as this story is, it also opens the door to possibility, because if one such coin exists, who is to say that others are not still out there, hidden in collections, jars, or even circulation, waiting to be discovered? And that is why collectors never stop searching, because the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovery, and the dream of finding that life-changing treasure keep the passion alive. And when you think about all the potential errors that can happen during minting, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, broad strikes, die caps, clipped planchets, die clashes, cuds, rotated dies, the possibilities are endless, and each type of error has its own level of rarity and value depending on the severity, clarity, and uniqueness of the mistake. And in 1976, a year already special for America's bicentennial, the discovery of such an extraordinary error penny only adds to the magic of that time, reminding us that history and rarity often come together in the most unexpected places. And for collectors, this is the ultimate dream come true, because not only does the coin hold immense financial value, but it also carries with it a story, a piece of history, and a sense of wonder that cannot be measured in dollars alone. And for those who are watching this video, perhaps the most important takeaway is to never overlook the ordinary, to always take a second look at your coins, because the extraordinary often hides in the most common of places, and your next handful of change could hold something beyond imagination, a penny worth not just 1 cent, not just a few dollars, but potentially millions. And that is the magic of numismatics, the transformation of the ordinary into the extraordinary, the discovery of treasure where no one expects it, and the thrill of knowing that at any moment, in any place, you might stumble upon history in the palm of your hand. So as we wrap up this incredible story of the 1976 Lincoln cent that sold for $8 million due to its spectacular combination of errors, let it serve as both inspiration and motivation, a reminder that treasures are still out there waiting to be found, and all it takes is curiosity, knowledge, and a sharp eye to uncover them. And with that, we thank you for joining us on this amazing journey into the world of rare coins, and we encourage you to keep searching, keep learning, and keep dreaming, because the next legendary discovery might just be yours. Last 2005 1 cent USA coin, everyone, where we uncover the most incredible, surprising, and often life-changing stories about coins, currency, and treasures that could be hiding right in plain sight. And today we have an absolutely astonishing story to share with you, one that will make you look twice at every single penny you ever come across. Because we are going to dive into the world of the 2005 1 cent coin, the Lincoln penny, which in some rare cases due to spectacular minting mistakes and errors has been valued at a jaw-dropping $3 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $3 million for a single coin with a face value of just 1 cent. And as unbelievable as that sounds, It is entirely real because in the fascinating world of numismatics, where collectors chase after rarity, history, and uniqueness, mistakes can sometimes make a coin more valuable than gold, more precious than diamonds, and more sought after than almost anything else. And when we dig into the story of the 2005 penny that reached this astronomical value, you will not only understand why it became so valuable but also learn how mint errors happen, what types of mistakes can transform an ordinary coin into a rare treasure, and how you yourself could be the next lucky person to discover one of these priceless rarities in your own pocket change. So let us begin by setting the stage. Because in 2005 the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents at the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Still using the Union Shield design had not yet been introduced, meaning that the reverse design was the Lincoln Memorial, and the obverse carried the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln first introduced in 1909, and although the vast majority of 2005 pennies were struck without issue and spent their lives circulating unnoticed, a few rare coins escaped with multiple dramatic errors that made them unique, one-of-a-kind collectibles that collectors were willing to pay millions to acquire. And when we examine the most famous 2005 error penny that sold for $3 million, we see that it combines several extraordinary mistakes in one coin, creating a perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and sheer numismatic magic, starting with the most eye-catching error of all, a dramatic double die obverse, which is one of the most famous types of minting mistakes where the design is doubled during the hubbing process. And on this 2005 specimen, the doubling was so strong that it could be seen with the naked eye, with the words, "In God We Trust," at the top of the coin appearing as though written twice, with clear separation lines in the letters, the word, "Liberty," to the left of Lincoln's bust also showing bold doubling, and the date, 2005. Standing out with a noticeable shadow effect that instantly made it recognizable to anyone with even a modest interest in coins. And dramatic doubling of this nature is always in high demand, because famous examples like the 1955 double die cent or the 1969's double die have sold for enormous sums. And to see such dramatic doubling appear on a modern 2005 penny was shocking to the numismatic world. But this coin story didn't stop there, because alongside the double die obverse, it also featured a spectacular off-center strike, meaning that when the coin was struck, the dies and planchet were misaligned, shifting the entire design to one side and leaving part of the blank planchet exposed, and in this case the strike was around 20% off-center, which is dramatic enough to be visually striking while still leaving the date and mint mark fully visible. And that combination is rare because off-center coins with missing dates lose much of their appeal. But when both the date and mint mark are present, the desirability skyrockets, and collectors love examples like this, especially when paired with another major error like a double die. And as if those two errors weren't enough, the coin also bore multiple die cracks, raised jagged lines caused when the dies used to strike the coins began to fracture, and these cracks ran dramatically across Lincoln's bust and extended into the fields of the coin, giving it a unique lightning bolt appearance that added to its visual appeal. And what truly astonished experts was the possibility that this coin may have been struck on the wrong planchet, because it weighed slightly less than a standard copper-plated zinc cent, and had a slightly different ring when tapped, leading some to theorize that it could have been struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or perhaps even a transitional experimental blank, and wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most desirable of all, especially in modern coinage, because they create unique one-of-a-kind pieces that simply should not exist. And when you combine a dramatic double die, an off-center strike, bold die cracks, and a potential wrong planchet all on a single 2005 penny, what you get is something that defies probability, a coin so unique and rare that collectors could not contain their excitement, and when it was authenticated and graded by a top-tier grading service, given a high mint state designation because despite the dramatic errors it retained excellent surfaces and luster, the stage was set for a record-breaking auction, and when the bidding began, interest poured in not only from American collectors, but also from international investors who recognized the historical significance of such a coin, and as the bids climbed higher and higher, it became clear that this was not going to be just another high-value sale, but something that would go down in numismatic history, and when the final gavel fell, the price landed at an astounding $3 million, shocking even seasoned collectors, and cementing this 2005 penny as one of the most valuable modern-era coins ever sold. And what makes this story so inspiring is the fact that the person who discovered it was not a professional dealer, but an ordinary individual who happened to be checking through a roll of pennies from the bank, and by paying attention to the details and noticing the dramatic doubling and off-center strike, they stumbled upon a life-changing treasure, proving once again that incredible discoveries can still be made by anyone willing to look closely, and that is perhaps the most exciting part of this story. Because if such a coin could be found once, who is to say there aren't more still out there, hidden away in change jars, tucked in drawers, or waiting inside bank rolls to be discovered? And that is why collectors continue to search, driven by the possibility of finding the next great rarity. Because the world of coin collecting is not just about history and design, but also about the thrill of discovery, the possibility that any ordinary coin might hold an extraordinary story. And when we think about all the possible errors that can occur during minting, doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, broad strikes, die caps, clipped planchets, die clashes, rotated dies, missing letters, filled dies, repunched mint marks, the combinations are endless, and each unique error has the potential to make a coin incredibly valuable depending on its severity and visibility. And the 2005 penny that reached $3 million is the ultimate example of how extraordinary errors can combine into a single coin to create something so rare and valuable that it becomes legendary. And while some may think it is impossible to ever find such a treasure themselves, the truth is that the odds, though slim, are never zero. Because billions of coins are struck each year and mistakes, though rare, always find their way into circulation, and with knowledge and persistence, anyone could be the next lucky finder. And that is what keeps this hobby so alive and so exciting. The constant possibility of discovery, the dream of turning a single penny into a fortune, and the inspiration of stories like this one. So as we wrap up this incredible journey into the world of the 2005 Lincoln penny that sold for $3 million, let it serve as a reminder to everyone watching that treasures do not always come in the form of gold bars, ancient artifacts, or priceless paintings. Sometimes they come in the most ordinary of disguises, like a penny passed from hand to hand in daily life, carrying within it a secret fortune waiting to be revealed. And if you take nothing else from this story, let it be this: always check your change. Always pay attention to the little details, because the extraordinary is often hidden in the most ordinary of places, and the next coin you glance at might just be worth millions, holding the power to change your life forever.